Welcome everyone. Welcome to one more episode. Today we break the tunes with Marc Walboomers to be precise, who is also the owner of the label. I'm very excited to have you here with me today, because today it's story time. And I don't know about you, but I love some stories, and especially they are good. And I have a feeling that today's story is kind of epic. So prepare. To get you into the mood, probably most of you will remember the song Obsession by Aventura. It was a huge hit in the early 2000s. And while most of us have experienced the song from either listening to it on the radio or maybe online, Marc has a different experience with the song and the artists themselves. So Marc, tell us a bit.
Yeah, hello, George. Yeah, thanks for being part of this podcast.
Yeah.
And it's a great idea to talk about Aventura and a bit about Walboomers as a record label.
Yeah.
Our company was founded in 1996 as a distribution company for Latin, reggae, hip-hop music. In 1998, we started the record label with vinyl, re-releasing reggae classics. And in 2000, we started to release some tropical music on CD. First, we released some salsa music, but my interest was not only for salsa music. I just love Caribbean and tropical music in general.
Yeah.
So I also had the interest to release merengue and bachata music. So I think it was like in 2001, I'm not really sure. I contacted the label of Zacarias Ferreira, who just released an album. And I made a license for the Netherlands to release the album. At that time, there was already this young bachata R&B group performing in Europe, who already came a few times to the Netherlands. And those shows were very successful by mainly young Latino people. And, I heard about them, I heard the music, and I got really excited about it because, the traditional bachata music is not really for very young people. It's also for more older people. It's a traditional music style. And they were really renovating bachata music. So I tried to get in touch with them, but I don't speak Spanish. My network was kind of a bit limited, so I contacted the label who released Zacarias Ferreira, and I asked, about Aventura. Maybe you can help me to get in touch with the label. And, because I really want to sign these guys. And but yeah, she knew about them, but she was not so enthusiastic about it because, she was a musician as well, played the saxophone, and she was not so fond on the new style of bachata. So the conversation ended a bit. But, Obsession and Aventura, they were... Something was happening also in Europe and the Netherlands. So I tried a few more times to convince her that I want to get in touch with these guys. In the end, she called the label. I think she's still happy and that I asked her, because she found out that there were some problems with the license in Europe. It seems that a middleman signed a contract in France with a record label for the rights of Aventura, but the record label owner, Franklin Romero, he didn't know that, and he never gave official permission for it. Maybe he spoke about it, but somebody else just signed a contract. So I got like an... they asked me to find out what really happened. So I contacted my good friend in Paris, and I told him, okay, this is the company. Can you check out what's going on? A week later, he called me, said, Marc, I have some very interesting news for you. the company who signed the license didn't exist at the time the contract was signed, but they were founded like a couple of weeks later. So this was a great reason for the label to terminate that contract. So they were really happy about it, and
it was not a legit contract. It was not a legit contract.
It was not a legit contract.
Yeah.
So I told him, I'm ready to sign you guys for Europe or whatever territory is possible. And then, it was like, I think we have to meet in person.
Yeah.
So a couple of days later, I bought my ticket, and I think a week later, I was on a plane to JFK, and I met the person in Harlem. We talk about it. And then in the end, we made a deal. So we signed a deal for Holland, Belgium, and France. And I told her, I'm not going to leave without a contract. So finally, we signed a contract. I went back to the Netherlands, and then we were ready to start releasing Aventura.
Yeah.
So that was really the start. But the track. So we pressed the CDs, we put it in the stores. They were selling really well. And, right? Yeah, that was that one. This is the artwork we made ourselves. They really liked it because this was not the original artwork. Yeah. We made T-shirts. We did a lot of promotional stuff. And it was like, I think it was like in the autumn-winter period of 2002. And I think a lot of people who came back from the Caribbean in the summer of 2002, they heard the song. So the song was really doing well on the streets, and people were talking about Aventura.
Yeah.
But, we were still a young record label. We released some vinyl, we released some CD albums, but we really never released a CD single. So we spoke to some major labels, maybe to work with them together, but they told us, yeah, we don't know, the song is nice, but the production, we don't really believe in it. I think the production needs to be better, and we don't think it's a good timing of the year to release such a song in the autumn of the winter. You should wait half a year, and then we might be able to release it. Yeah. This was not something we wanted to hear, so we said, okay, don't worry, we're going to do it ourselves.
Yeah.
So then we released Obsession, the CD single, which was our very first CD single, the WBS 01. It was incredible.
And what a start.
Yeah, and then a couple of months later, we were number 2 in the national Dutch chart. We made a deal with Play It Again, Sam in Belgium. We were number 1 in Belgium. I think the song was the longest number 1 song in the Belgium national chart ever with Obsession. It moved of Usher to number 2, which was a real big thing back then. And for the French market, we made a deal with a company called Up, which went through Warner, and the song went to number 1 in France as well. So it was huge. It was our first CD single, and everybody knew Walboomers music in the Netherlands, and also the name became bigger in Latin America.
Of course. Yeah. And that was the start, but then I see 4 more CDs on the table.
Yeah, it was a long story. The group made their final CD, I think, in 2009, and then Anthony Romeo, he started a solo career, signed a huge contract with the Sony Music. But everything between 2002 and 2009, all the albums by Aventura were manufactured and promoted by Walboomers Music in the Netherlands and in Belgium. And yeah, it was a great time. So after the first album, we lost the rights for France, but luckily we got the rights for Switzerland for Love and Hate.
Yeah.
And that album did huge in Switzerland. So yeah, those were really the good days. We really enjoyed those days, and yeah.
Yeah, it's. I'm working around the office here, and I've seen those awards you have from Switzerland also, from this album Love and Hate. That was platinum or something like that. It was.
I'm not really sure, but it sold loads of copies there. They just we were working with a physical distributor, and they were just reordering product every week. So like every 1 or 2 weeks, we had to manufacture more CDs at the factory, and it was just a really nice time.
It was a good momentum.
It was a very good momentum. Yeah. So we also released many more other salsa, merengue, bachata, also Latin rock albums. I think until 2009, but no one ever matched the success of Aventura. No, we promoted heavily other tracks by the band as well, but they never broke in the Netherlands, and I think most other places in Europe. But the nice thing is about Aventura that they were very, very popular in the United States, in the Caribbean, when we started to work with them. But I really believe that they first broke into the national charts in Europe before they really broke into the charts in the USA, because it really took a while for the Latin music industry to accept Aventura, because they really did something special by by mixing the bachata sound with the R&B and the hip hop and some rock sound, which was really unusual. And but after a while, of course, everybody embraced what they were doing, and it was clear they were a great group. You had Anthony, you had the brothers Lenny and Max, and you had Henry, which was also one of the singers. And yeah,
it's very common when you do something innovative, like they did, like change the sound, mix the genres together, that people that are close to this cultural spectrum will be annoyed in the beginning, or maybe not accept it first. But then you also know that you have something special created. And the coming back on how their success has not been repeated, it's also true that for a similar type of act to be so prominent in the music industry, the streaming services had to be present. Like it wasn't back then. That wasn't the case. There was no streaming services. The song was completely in.
No, there were no downloads in the beginning. There was just a physical market. So downloads came a few years later, but was never really a huge success. And streaming really started in 2010, but it took a few years before streaming really became huge, and before the digital market became larger than the physical market.
Yeah.
So when the digital music came around, it was nice as like an additional, because it was clear digital was the future, but nobody knew how big it would be.
Yeah. Okay, so that covers up the story nicely. Maybe we can also say a few things about how the label has progressed through years, and maybe what's now the sound of the label and what the label does right now.
Yeah, so it really put our name on the market in 2002. We moved from physical distribution to license deal, where we had the license for a couple of years. after the success of Aventura, we started to sign Dutch artists. So we signed the exclusive artist agreement. And in 2003, we signed the Dutch group Lange Frans en Baas B. Those were the first Dutch artists we signed exclusively to our record label. And, then we had a huge success story with these guys. Until 2009, we had like over 10 top 40 songs and a couple of number one songs in the Netherlands. So
maybe future episode, guys.
Yeah, so we really moved from distribution to license deal to artist agreement. But we saw the market was not doing so really well. So we tried to develop further, and we started a booking agency with a partner. We started our own publishing company. We started to do management for artists and producers. The company is still around. The company has survived 24 years. And, I'm really looking forward to next year when hopefully we'll have our 25th anniversary. And, of course, it would be great if we can invite Aventura to play at our anniversary party. But maybe, let's say it's wishful thinking.
Let's leave it open. You never know what will happen. Okay. That's maybe. Is there something I didn't ask you that you would like to add to the story, or to what the label does?
Yeah. So after 2009, the activities of the labels really went low because the physical market was really doing really bad. Downloads really never really sold. And a lot of labels were struggling, and a lot of labels or they went out of business or they merged. But I decided to focus myself on other activities, and until 2015, my main activity was doing artist management. And from 2016, I started to put more focus back on the label because of the success of streaming. It took me a little while to adapt to the new situation because I found out I was a bit still working like before the digital revolution in 2010. But in the last 2 years, we really made some huge improvement. And so the label is doing much better.
Yeah.
And, we're releasing a lot of product on a weekly basis. And, we have our own data management. We are really, upgrading our social media. And we are getting into more ways in branding ourselves as a label. And this is a great example of it, doing these podcasts. By telling the history of the label, what we're doing now, also showing my face to the people, so they just not a name on a piece of paper, but the real people working here. It's a real story with real people, and hopefully we'll have many years to go.
And share more stories like this.
There are enough stories to tell.
But more to come.
More to come.
Great. Thank you, Marc. That was great.
You're welcome, George. It was a pleasure.